So, you probably remember that massive crypto nosedive back on October 10th, right? I mean, most people just wrote it off as, a typical market correction. But what if I told you it wasn't an accident at all? What if it was a deliberately engineered crash? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into. This is the story of an $80 million heist that unfolded right in front of everyone's eyes.
Just try to wrap your head around this number. In a single 24-hour period, the market just bled out. We're talking $19.3 billion in leveraged positions. That's all the borrowed money people were using to bet on which way the market would go. Just gone. Completely wiped out. It was a day of absolute financial carnage for thousands and thousands of traders.
But, and here's the real kicker, while all of that was happening, while the market was on fire, one person, a single whale, didn't just survive the crash. They profited from it, and not just a little. They walked away with $80 million. So the question is, how in the world did they pull that off?
All right, let's dive into our first section here. The single most important thing to get right off the bat is this. This wasn't just bad luck. It wasn't random market chaos. No, the on-chain data makes it crystal clear. This was a crash by design.
If you were just looking at the headlines, the common belief was pretty simple. Oh, it's just a routine technical correction. The market's doing its thing. But when you look at the on-chain reality, that digital footprint that, let's be honest, never lies, it tells a completely different story. This was a targeted, coordinated market attack. Period.
So how did one person cause all this chaos? That's what we're going to break down right now in Section 2, the anatomy of the attack.
Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty, we got to understand one key piece of the puzzle, the price oracle. Just think of it like the market's official timekeeper. It's the service that feeds data to the blockchain, telling it what an asset is supposed to be worth at any given moment. It's the source of truth for so many platforms. And this timekeeper? Well, it became the attacker's #1 weapon.
So the attacker's plan was actually brilliant in a terrifying way. It was a 4-step masterpiece. Step 1, the dump. They sold off $60 million in assets, specifically targeting platforms they knew had weak price oracles. Step 2, the desync. That massive sale completely overwhelmed those flimsy oracles, and it forced a mismatch between the price the oracle was reporting and the actual market price. Now Step 3, and this is the genius part, the short. With the system now feeding everyone bad data, the attacker triggers a pre-planned, wait for it, $1.1 billion short position. A huge bet that everything was about to collapse. And finally, Step 4, the profit. The market burns just as they planned, and they cash out. $80 million richer.
And as you can imagine, this perfectly executed plan left an absolute mess in its wake. So let's look at that, the cascade of chaos.
I mean, look at this chart. The damage is laid bare. On one side, you've got the tokens that were relying on those weak oracles. They got hammered, dropping anywhere from 40 to 70%. Now look at the other side, the tokens using secure, robust infrastructure. The difference is just, it's night and day. This proves it wasn't some random market event. It was a surgical strike that targeted a specific weakness.
So who were the biggest victims here? Well, the common thread is pretty obvious: vulnerability. We're talking about DeFi protocols that were trying to run their own internal price oracles. Big mistake. You see platforms like Venus, Geist, a bunch of Aave forks. Basically, any project that wasn't using a battle-tested, robust external oracle like Chainlink was a sitting duck. And of course, you have the low-liquidity altcoins. The ones without a deep pool of buyers and sellers, which made them super easy to push around.
All right, so this all brings us to the most important question, right? What does this mean for the rest of us? For you and me? That's what we're going to cover in our final section, Surviving a Rigged Game.
I really want you to let this next idea sink in because it's the core takeaway from this whole thing. Here it is. Whales don't predict markets, they design them. Just think about that for a second. This whole heist is the perfect and frankly terrifying proof. This attacker didn't just guess the market was going down, they made it go down.
And all of this really boils down to one critical lesson. And it's something you have to remember. Price is not always truth. That number you're staring at on your screen, it is only as good as the data feeding it. And if that system is weak, well then the price is basically an illusion.
Okay, so this isn't just a scary story to tell around the campfire, right? It's a playbook. It shows us how to protect ourselves. So what do?
Well, before you even think about investing, you need to verify where a project is getting its price data from. Look at its liquidity depth. Can it actually take a punch? And you should always, always favor projects that have strong governance and a proven, secure infrastructure.
When you really get down to it, this whole event was a tale of two infrastructures. On one side, you had the vulnerable, the projects with weak, internal oracles, and not a lot of liquidity. They just broke. But on the other side, you had the resilient ones, projects with secure oracles, strong governance. And that's exactly why tokens like SNX and TAO were able to weather this storm so much better than everyone else.
So I'm going to leave you with this one last question to really think about. If that price you're looking at on the screen isn't always the truth, then what are you actually trusting with your money?